African.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to the show. My name is Pratt. Tonight is the Hard Talk edition of the show. Thank you for staying with us from morning till now. I always say that because it's always very important that we say that. Now, if you watched the show last week, you know that we discussed the NPP's internal elections, and last week we agreed that today we're going to, take the conversation a notch higher. So tonight, our issues to be discussed include the contenders, for the presidential race, the conduct of the contenders so far, monetization, rigging, and also this important concept of a free and a fair election. Bear in mind, we are going to situate the conversation within the realms of fact and perception and how these two play, going forward into the election. So this is our conversation, for this evening. Back to the NPP's internal election that's just about to happen. My guests for tonight are Andrew Appiah-Danquah, lawyer, Andrew Appiah-Danquah. Thank you for coming again, sir. And then Nana Bediako, Dannsa Appiah. Thank you so much for coming again, sir.
You're welcome, my lady.
Thank you. Okay, so straight up, let's get into business. Viewers, do forgive me. I have a terrible cold. Let's get straight into the issues. Let's start with the contenders, right? Who do you think our frontliners are? If we say narrow it down to three, who would you pick? Who would your three be?
Okay, so let me take this opportunity to wish your viewers a good evening. I hope our discussion today will help them being better informed as to what's happening within the NPP. So I think I want to clarify that so far, apart from Kennedy Japan, nobody has actually come out to say that they intend contending. Personally, I've been on record more or less touting the capabilities of Alan John Kojo-Chamanten, and I'll say that I'm not the only person. He seems to be the one name that a lot of the masses, a lot of the people down there are mentioning. So yes, we haven't heard Alan himself come out to say that he will contest, but we are calling on him that when they open, or when he's granted opportunity, when everybody is granted opportunity to pick up forms,
he should go and pick up a form.
And then we think he's exactly what Ghana needs at this point in time. So at least we've heard some names being bandied around. We've heard the name of the Honorable Minister for Agric, Honorable Akuto Efriye. We've heard people mentioning the Vice President's name, His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. We've heard people mentioning Honorable Kennedy Japan's name. I think I've also heard that the Honorable Jokate's name being mentioned. And who else? I've heard Appiah's name too. Now, if you, to answer your questions specifically.
Francis Adainimo,
forgive me. Yes. So I've also, in fact, so let me say this. So I've heard Amma mention his name because apart from you haven't heard his name being mentioned.
Please, I'm mentioning his name on authority.
Authority, okay. He's a fine gentleman.
Very fine gentleman.
So of all the names mentioned, if you ask me who the leading contenders in the top three, I'll say Alan John Kojo-Chamanten is the number one. I'll mention Kennedy Japan. Yes, he's a leading contender, and I'll mention His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. I think these three, in my opinion, as in supposing they are contesting, because it's only Kennedy Japan who has expressly said he will contest. But we are calling on Alan John Kojo Kyerematen to contest. I know he will hit to our core. He's exactly what we need in this country. Then I know His Excellency Dr. Bamia, at least I've heard Fredowari also. Fredowari sees that he will contest. I think Fredowari is like his campaign manager of some sort. And yes, I think he's campaign manager of some sort. So I think these three, if you ask me, are
the front runners.
Yeah.
Okay. Nana, would you agree?
Okay. First of all,
that these three are the front runners.
Okay. First of all, I would say a very good evening to your cherished viewers. Your beautiful self.
Thank
my
you. My
senior, and I think your crew, yes, and Honorable Alan Kojo Kyerematen, that I especially say a very good evening to him. I think I want to depart from what my senior had said regarding it being that it's only Honorable Honorable Kennedy Appiah who has declared. No, there are two people who so far have declared. There's the Vice President of this country and Kennedy Appiah. Why do I say the Vice President? Last week, we all saw a video being played in your studios here where the Vice President was dancing to a tune. Dr. Bawumia Naobe or future President Naobe. So you understand, he was dancing to the tune. So indirectly, or I will not even use the word indirect, directly, the man has declared his intention to contest for the flag bearership of the NPP. But you see, Ama, in all fairness, NPP is a party that believes in long service. NPP is a party that believes that umre and edu, for which reason, let's say, to wait, it only means that wabre and your time for you to also mount the, let's say, the leadership role of the New Patriotic Party. We've seen things, ideally, things which are circulating, we've seen machinations, things which are being screwed, but
who are your front runners?
I know the question that I know. You see, the front runners,
Nana.
in all fairness.
Who are your front runners?
Yes, I'm coming to that. In all fairness, like I told you, Senior was saying that we are calling on Honorable Alan Kojo Kyerematen. You see, not only the elite class, he's the elite class, a lawyer, sort of, but we have market women who are on TV saying that even if the man doesn't want to come, they will gather money and go and pick up his forms for him. So that should tell you that the man Alan Kojo Kyerematen is a front runner. Simplicity.
Who are your top three?
I've mentioned one, the top three. I'm just doing it in order of what the names that I'm mentioning.
Okay.
So Alan Kojo Kyerematen is the topmost. And it is everywhere. At least we all saw whatever happened just recently, where even the man himself, Alan Kojo Kyerematen, never knew of some work being known as a Druno's work. Then, all of a sudden, we saw or we heard the Minister of Youth and Sports, all of a sudden, that we're going for a national walk or national exercise, for which reason the face of the nation. Now, I didn't even know that the Vice President is now the face of the nation, whereas we have a sitting president. While the Vice President picture was there, and I can confidently tell you, even at the time where announcements were made, and they went to SEC. On my status, I made a statement to the effect that when it is not your time to wear the crown, and you want to wear the crown, it will lead to what? Call to worship, where buses were put in circle. So were put at circle, calling on people to come and board the vehicle to the National Sports Stadium. During the Druno's work, it wasn't the National Sports Stadium that we did it. You could see the kilometers of work that we had. And the number of people who came, where monies that were spent, we heard of some amount of money, very huge, millions of Ghana cedis. For only 200 people, less than 200 people attended the work. So,
okay.
The second person, I'm coming, my lady.
Right.
The second person, I agree with Senior that we all know or hear of things that are going on. And he is the first person who declared is Kennedy Japan. And this man single-handedly during elections, see the kind of contributions that he channels to the
We'll
party.
have that conversation. We'll take them one after the other and have a conversation around them. And who is your third?
The third, I don't know of the third, but the fourth, I believe, will be the vice president of this country.
But you don't know who the third
No,
would
the
be.
third, yeah, but whatever
Okay.
we've done, he would go in for the fourth.
So now, both of you at least have, you know, you are in agreement about two people.
Sure.
Alan Kojo Chamantin and then Kennedy Japan. Senior, you seem to think that His Excellency Dr. Baumia is a third runner-up. You seem to think, let's just say you think it's the Honorable Francis Adainimo.
Okay.
Okay.
Well said.
Now let's look at all of
But I
them.
didn't make
Other
mention of the
people-
fourth person, or
Yeah.
you wanted only a third.
I wanted three.
Okay,
I
that's
just
fine.
wanted
Oh,
three.
three,
Now,
okay.
it's interesting because there are so many other people whose names have not come up in the list that you have given. For instance, Kobna J. Japan
I'll go in for Company G Japan for the third.
for the third.
Honestly, yes.
And he has actually declared.
Yes.
I want us to watch the video of him
Oh,
declaring
okay.
and come back. Stay with us.
He went to Infantipe, my school, so yeah.
You should obviously be interested. And I'm talking about this new direction.
That's right.
And the vehicle that will take Ghana to that new direction obviously will be the NPP. Would you want to be the one in the driving seat, leading the NPP
Well,
into in leading this country into that direction? Are you interested
I'm
in running?
someone who wants to respect the regulations of our party. But today I want to make it clear. As soon as the party allows for nominations to be filed for the flag bearership of the party, I will file.
Wow.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. Government Japan is going to run to be presidential candidate, flag bearer for the new patriotic party in the 2024 elections.
Duke, you wanted this as a break for you, huh?
It's important. Very.
You know, because I've been asked everywhere, and I think that the party has rules and regulations, and we don't need to jump the gun. And when the time comes, I'm sure it will be very soon, because according to our constitution, by December of next year, we should have a new presidential candidate in place, and I'm sure the process will start very soon. And if I see the agitation from the base of the party, the youth especially, who feel warmed by the messages I'm giving them, and my message has resonated positively across the country. And they see in me the hope for the future of our political tradition, because I've been there from day one, you know, schooled in this party, worked under all the leaders of this political party. And then I've worked for this country as a civil engineer, working in the bushes on various roads, Voradep roads, or Sukuma Johnson, Jasi Kambere, Nyasi, as a young engineer.
Welcome back from that. That was a video of Mr. Kwabena Eje Ejapon, you know, very boldly declaring his own intentions. And I dare say that the Honorable Francis Adainimo equally boldly declared his intention right here, you know, on the show Couch a couple of weeks back. So there are other people that have declared. There are people that we don't even know of. Absolutely, there are people who. Yes.
That's fantastic.
Right. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
Do you think that we can have a situation where we have about 15 people coming up to contest? Is that a possibility?
So based on our history, we've had 17 before.
You have had 17 before,
yeah.
yes.
So, but you know what that 17 did was to cause an amendment of our constitution, and so now where there are more than 5 people who pick forms, then there'll be what we call the special voting whittle it down to at least 5. Yeah, so yes, it's a democratic institution. Once you qualify to be president per the national constitution, you can, and you're a party member in good standing, you can pick your forms.
Okay.
And then if we have more than 5 people contesting, then we would have the special voting first. Then the top 5 would then go and
wait. Now, here's my issue with both of you, right? Correct me. Feel free to correct me if you think I've taken you out of context. I'm asking for your top 3. And you have somebody like, again, my personal favorite, the Honorable Francis Adainimo, who all the time is underrated and every time comes third. Every time you've had, for about a couple of years now.
Yeah, I think it was 10 in 2014.
Yes, he comes third, clearly showing that within the rank and file of the party, he's a solid, candidate in his own right. And yet somehow, in all of these polls, even the poll that will come to the polls in a minute, and in talking to most of you, his name doesn't come up. And yet somehow, Kennedy Japan's name keeps coming up, which I find extremely shocking. Everybody knows my views about Kennedy Japan. I honestly believe that he should not come anywhere near, the presidency of this country. I feel the same way I felt about Donald Trump when his name came up. I feel as though the presidency should have some sanctity around it that and I'm not mincing words. I feel that the person of Honorable Kennedy Japan simply does not possess. He doesn't possess the finesse, the character, the persona of a president. And yet somehow, I feel as though we are looking at a situation where, just like Donald Trump, we say locally, like joke. He can. I mean, if you are putting him at number 2, joke. The NPP will give us a Donald Trump in this country.
You see, and that's the beauty of democracy. Our strength is in our diversity. That's our strength. The fact that we all see things differently and then we are allowed to see things differently. Right. So when we are voting, we actually express our opinion. And so if let's say we voted and we are supposed to ask people why they vote for A or why they did not vote for A or why they vote for B, people have very interesting reasons why. But interestingly, all of us, our votes carry away just one. In that we are all free people who are going to cast their vote. So understand where you are coming from. But let me add that I'm a huge fan of Donald Trump.
I know people love him. Has a huge.
Exactly, and that's very what I'm saying. So that's the beauty of, and then I can. So Donald Trump isn't the subject matter of our discussion here, but I can justify why.
Even here.
Yeah, I can.
So my next question then becomes: what's the allure? What's the allure of Kennedy Japan in all of this? What's the allure?
You see, people have different reasons. So let me take why I like Alan Chemartin. And one of the main reasons why I love Alan Chemartin is his competence. There's some clarity in his vision, and then his vision is one that he has demonstrated an ability to undertake, and I believe strongly that that's exactly his vision is what we need now as a nation, and also because I believe that he can unify the country together. Now, but that's my personal view. When you talk about Kennedy Japan, there's that perception that he fights for the grassroots.
He fights with Appiah Schwarzenegger, Ms. Bell, Tracy Boache for the grassroots. Is that the conversation we're having?
No, the point I'm trying to
Those are the kind of fights I've seen him engage in.
No, but also fights. But when it comes to the grassroots, there's a perception that there's also a perception. I don't want it to be about what I think. Yeah, that's because for me, what I think my focus is my focus is on Alan Chemartin. Yeah, so I don't want any diversion at all. But if you ask my personal opinion about Kennedy Japan, I was a bit also surprised when I heard he wanted to be president of Ghana. But that's my personal view. But you see, whether I agree or I disagree, whether I don't agree with what people say, the fact is there's this perception in town that he speaks for the grassroots. he speaks the truth. That is the perception. That's what.
Yeah, the man says I'm corrupt.
Yeah,
he says I'm corrupt.
Yeah, there's this perception that he's.
Oh, you haven't seen the video. He said it's at GBC.
No, I haven't seen it, but
with Kafri Day.
In fact, me,
he said I'm corrupt, but it's kind of like saying I'm corrupt, but everybody will chop.
Yes, but
I won't chop alone.
I won't compare Kennedy to Donald Trump. I think they're two different. I'd rather compare him to the same allure that made us allow J.J. Rawlings to rule us for over 20 years. I'll
That's very debatable.
Yes, and everything is. But for me, I won't compare because when
that's extremely debatable.
But everything is. And that's for me,
everything is not.
You see, yeah, because you see, when you go down there and you ask them why do you like Kennedy or Kanokre or criticizing on any party or a disciplined, you purge the country of indiscipline. You get a picture, and at least I wouldn't say I was just a baby when J.J. Rawlings ascended onto the throne of this country, and yet one thing that made him very appealing was this perception that there was this indiscipline in the system. There's a lot of dishonesty around, and he has what it takes to purge the country of that discipline, of that untruth, without having regard to what his vision was, and whether or not his vision is one that we need, and whether or not he has what it takes to take that vision. People didn't question J.J. on what his vision was. It was about the discipline.
How do you even lay any claim or a semblance of a claim to wanting to purge indiscipline when you yourself are so terribly indisciplined? But you can't point to one indiscipline act of J.J. Rawlings prior to his, to the coup and we getting to know him. But we can point to things.
No, but you see, I'm sure
his person, in his conduct, in his.
A lot of indiscipline.
That's a conversation we can have. That's a conversation we can have. Right? But I'm more interested in the Appiah-Danquah kind of engagement that for me speaks to character, integrity, person, decency. Again, the word sanctity, the very.
Yeah.
I mean, that's our precedent, right?
But what's the definition of integrity? What's the definition of... because you see, I remember once...
Let's take it lower, decorum, basic decorum, decorum.
And what's the definition of that? Our country is very interesting. What are our values, Dana? What are our values? If sometimes when I see...
Definitely not profane insults exchanged over social media. I'm sorry.
I get you.
Yes,
are you sure?
The videos are there.
Because you see,
I can send some to you. Profane insults traded, on social media.
I've seen some interviews on air. I think drawing our own between Jennifer Quinn and between Jennifer Quinn and I think when we're doing our national delegates.
Oh, okay. So Jennifer Quinn, then I think Hobson or someone.
Not Hobson, Jennifer Quinn. I think the host was this guy, Tanko. Tanko is
that's okay. I saw that video. That's okay.
No, so the way they were behaving. No, as in I was, so what I was saying, it was.
My goodness, and you find the ones of Japan acceptable.
No, what I'm saying is.
But that's one pales in comparison.
No, please listen to me. I think I've said clear that my personal opinion.
Right.
I find it very surprising that everyone wants to be president. I don't want to go into why my personal view.
Don't worry, I will.
Yes, I will. But what I'm saying is that whether you like it or not, whether it repulses you or not, the people down there seem to find his attempt at the president very interesting. And I can tell on all authority that I think he even has support than, let's say, Namatu. You understand? And it doesn't matter what you think personally, because like I said, you just have one vote. And if you are supposed to subject everybody's vote to why they vote, different, and that's why I was saying why I support Ananche Martin. You understand? Yeah. So because it's not, so let's say if I was the only one, if I had the power to choose the president to be, certainly Japan wouldn't be in the top 100 personally. You understand? But it's not about me.
But then, are you not concerned that your party will be that party that gave us, this president? Because I'm always looking at at the end of the day, and for me, take NDC NPP aside, I always insist, right? At the end of the day, let's think Ghana.
Yeah.
Let's think about our country. I foresee a situation where there will be profane insults thrown at one ambassador or another president if somebody angers him enough, right? Are we not concerned?
Yeah, there could be even assault of slapping somebody or something.
The man says on TV, go and beat somebody up. Bold face, chest out, he doesn't care. Are we not concerned as a party? Forget NDC, NPP. That one, it will come and go. Ghana, are we not concerned? In a couple of years, we might not have NDC, NPP.
Am I to answer it also?
Yes. In a couple of years, we might not have NDC, NPP. We might have something else. There was a time when we had CPP, right? We had CPP before. Kwame Nkrumah is part of our history forever and ever.
Okay.
So let's say, 100 years from now, we don't have NDC and NPP, and we have something else and something else. The history will be there for us forever. Are we not concerned?
It is true that our meeting here tonight, I wouldn't want myself or senior, okay, I can speak for myself, just to focus on Kennedy Agyapong, because he's not the reason why I'm here. He's the number 2 on my list.
But he's number 2 on any list.
And
I'm sure that's why I have a code.
That asks a question. Is the question who we think are the front runners or who?
Is the question?
Okay, so based on
who are the front runners?
Okay,
right? And based on your front runners, both of you,
regarding the questions, the question you asked concerning why, like, you look so surprised, or you seem to be so surprised about we not choosing somebody like Addainimo, because almost all the time he comes number
and that persona,
yes, he comes.
That's a presidential persona, no? Alan Chamanti is a presidential persona.
So let me land. Okay.
Excellency, Baumia, presidential persona. Then we can have a conversation.
Okay. No, but you see,
tell me your front runners.
I'm coming. You see, you see, prior to the 2020 election,
it's a democracy.
2020 election, it has always been the case that CPP has always counted. You agree with me, right? All of a sudden, I had one pastor by name Chiraboso. And as soon as I heard him, like, it was all over trying to play on the minds of Ghanaians, using Kwame Nkrumah's. You are there in your church. When people come to you for consultation, you take them money. Was Kwame Nkrumah, the Kwame Nkrumah he was using on the TVs, going back in the days where Kwame Nkrumah was alive, this Poalugu, Tomanto, or whatever, this and that this man was playing. You see, this man came as what Ted. Was it not surprising to you? I'm asking.
No, because he used Kwame Nkrumah.
You know why? He used Kwame Nkrumah because the man had sold something in the minds of the people.
Right.
So why don't you also take it from the perspective where we have people who are known as the delegates in our political party, as in NPP, and the man, Kennedy Agyapong, has sold something in the minds of these people, just as Senior said by saying that he speaks for the people. He on your camera is able to criticize his own political party. And you see, politics.
What's the truth?
I'm coming.
He's corrupt.
I'm coming.
Even the ones that are saying they are not corrupt.
I can't speak to that video because I have not seen that video. I am only speaking to things that I've heard or seen. Because come to think of it, I'm being honest, in all fairness, anytime we go for elections, this man has always, look at his contribution. I'm being honest with you. Buying pickups, buying whatever, for NPP as a political party. Whereas we see the national executives who moves in convoy. Who tells you national executives do not have money? Go and see. Some move in a convoy of 3 with well-able men.
Okay.
So I don't want to say certain things.
No, feel free.
No, you see, one of them is a very close, but typical of general. They'll push you as a brother, you see, so the whole thing is this. National executives, even ministers, there was a time where Kennedy Agyapong said that, there was this video circulated, that he was called to support the vice president. He said that, why is it that always people will call me, who they support away? Can't he himself also contest? Because I always...
No, he himself can't contest.
But his money there,
Yes.
Why?
And that leads me straight into the next conversation, right? This monetization of our politics. That takes me straight up there. Now, it's something that we have already penciled down to talk about.
Sure.
But then let's elevate the conversation. Whether we like it or not, it is already playing.
It is in the system.
In the NPP's elections
It's
already.
in the system, yes.
It is already.
It is not only NPP.
My gentlemen, we are here to discuss NPP. When the NDC time comes, I will have the
we
and I will say the same
Amma,
thing to them.
You see, so then I guess we should have told the viewers that those who are watching this evening, we should select only NPP people to watch.
Oh no, how possible?
Oh yeah, so the same thing. We should discuss both NPP and
Let's look at it this way, right? So obviously, right from the get-go, money is even influencing who the contenders are.
Oh yes, you know,
right?
you know.
So whether we like it or not, monetization of this election, sure banker.
Yes. So you see, Amma, that is the more reason why this same monetization is the more reason why His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is making certain untruth statement about he not being paid, whereas his salaries has been consolidated because this man is doing some Ahoto project. What's his name? Dufour. Yes. Because what is it? This man goes to the constituencies, goes to the electoral areas, goes to the branches. And what he does is that he gives them money. And I think I've forgotten the amount of money which was stated by, I think, Openi. He used to be the former organizer of the NPP. Former organizer of the NPP before this man came, Akamba came
of NDC.
Yeah, of NDC, sorry, of NDC.
Something John.
Boatinja. At least I think he's with him and he knows the amount of money that he spends per every ward or constituency. And His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is not doing the same thing. And he thinks that money could be used to influence whatever thing that is going on. You see, it is not only NPP, it is not only NDC.
So you are looking at some submarine tactics to sort of deflate the money power situation. You think that this conversation around whether he's being given his due as a certain, ex-president, all boils down to...
Amma, you see, let me be honest with you. Let me be honest with you. Amma, I believe you working here, when your salary comes in, there's a column or a portion where it states fuel. Sometimes people even get housing allowance or whatever. Read what the Constitution says about Article 71. You get it. The last clause, it talks about even salaries, which includes allowances, facilities. I'm coming. No, I'm coming. No,
I think the bone of contention is that we are not doing what the Constitution says.
It is totally out of place. It is not true. He is saying, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is saying that he pays his own electricity. He pays his own water bills or, like, let's say, utilities. But enshrined in the Constitution says that all these salaries are consolidated. I believe you were...
I don't want us to have this conversation because it will derail us. It's a whole conversation.
Let me land. You want my legs to break or something. You don't want it. You see, the whole thing is this. Where monies have been given to you as part of your salary, it comes with a component. Then you want us to come and pay electricity bill for you again. Whereas all these things are there. So
your argument is not a good argument.
My argument is a good argument.
Let me be very frank.
No, my argument is, you see, the whole issue is this. Let me tell you, all that I'm saying is this. I'm making it very nice and very good for you to now understand. All that I'm saying is that in the NDC are two front runners. That is His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and Kwabena Dufour. Kwabena Dufour, you see, has cash, real cash. You understand? And he goes on, even though, if assuming he's not even having cash, all that he is doing now is that he's selling something to his people that we can do this thing for you. I don't need to become president before I do this thing for you. Then this man goes around giving the constituency certain things for them to be to function well. Right. One other president who is the main contender, and I believe that without His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, there is no NDC. Nobody can beat John Dramani Mahama. I'm being honest with you. He's the obvious choice for the NDC. You get it? Now, John Dramani Mahama, now sit down there does not do anything for the people. One man who is your content, Ama, let's be factual here.
But even what you're saying is not too factual, because he's also doing things for his constituency.
It is not out.
Was it last week or so? Lordina Mahama Foundation commissioned the whole hospital.
Oh, where did he commission the hospital? In his husband's hometown. Bonnie Bamboy. Ama.
But that's
no,
one
I'm coming.
of all the things we
I believe
see.
I'm coming. I believe you're a fancy. I believe you're a fancy, right? You maybe, I know you have this presidential thing in you. I think maybe you'll be the first female president of Ghana.
See distraction.
It's not distraction. I'm not distracted. Then you being the first female president, I don't know which part of the fancy that you come from. Then everything now they are called fancy line. Everything now they are called fancy line. Look at somebody like Kwabena Dufo. He is not doing it in the constituency. He is doing it across board, the 275 constituency. And it's not even constituency. He's doing it at the ward. So it should tell you that these are, what do we do? The rule of the game is evidence. It is what is out that we discuss.
So for you, monetization of policies is okay?
It is not okay. It will get to a time. You see these Gawa people, these who normally, I think in times past, when you go to the filling station, there's this thing that they pump just like this borehole. It comes into some glass filled something, then it just drains, like pumps into your car. After some few months or years, these people now build some plush, this and how do you call it, filling station. All that I'm saying is that it will get to a time if we let money lead us in politics. You see those Gawa people, whether they are from Niger, whether they are from whatever thing, because of money, they will be making certain decisions for you, senior, and myself, and even all your crew.
I think we're already here.
Yeah, you get it.
I think we are already here. We're already where money is already taking us into trouble in terms of our politics.
A time where drug addicts, the people who are kingpins, the galamseyers, the people who are destroying our water bodies, the people who
I'm
are
saying it will get to a time. I'm saying we are here already.
Okay, so you see the whole thing, because maybe they've not taken center stage. Maybe I'm looking in terms of percentage. Maybe they are about 20 or, but I'm looking at around the 95, 100%. Where these people are people, then they will tell you Boko Haram. Don't even know Boko Haram. Education is nothing. Education, yeah. Then they will tell you that you see this Gawa thing that I did before I got money. It wasn't all about education. Right. It wasn't all about formal education. It was about using your mind. Because we have heard people saying that at the end of it all, to what end? Cash, goodie. So if the person has money, why would I even go and have formal education? So the point is, we should take monetization out of. I come to think of it. I ran for a national youth organizer brace in NPP in 2018. I brought out two things. I said one thing, that we should come out with something known as patriotic drinking mineral water. I was the first person to launch my manifesto at Alisa Hotel, and I told them that, you see, when we sell this mineral water, now mineral water is being sold, I think 1 cedi 50%, depending on the brand. And when you go to restaurants, sometimes it's about 5 cedis, about 10 cedis. But let's take it from the barest minimum, which is 1 cedi 50 pesos. I told my people that even now that we are in government, we can sell this patriotic mineral water for even 1 cedi, take 10 pesos off every bottle of water we sell, and we'll channel it to the youth account, where it is going to be operated by the youth organizer, together with all these 16 regional youth organizers. But what did we see? We went to Accra Sports Stadium for a program. We saw all manners of bottled waters being displayed there, where it was given to us for free though. But we never, and ask yourself whether or not all these people that we use their, we patronize their bottled water during our program, whether or not they've ever sponsored our program for a day before. But if we had our bottled mineral making company, patriotic mineral drinking water, we could. All this money could have come to us, and we could have saved money for the youth. I also came up with something known as the National Youth Council, where it was going to be, the composition was going to be the National Youth Organizer, together with all the 16 regional youth organizers. Then we have something known as the TESCOM. Then we would have an election to elect somebody known as the TESCOM president, and he is going to be the executive chairperson or like secretary to that particular. Yes, I want to. All that I'm saying is that I didn't win the election, but we had people using slogans, and they won election. Ask yourself this question: what have they been able to do or pinpoint that? During my time as the national youth organizer, I was able to do this thing for this political party or the youth. You see, it is about time we take this monetization out of our politics, do things and see that this particular person would be able to do this thing for us.
And go with that person because of the vision.
The kind of vision.
And not money.
Yes, I even told them that if I was not able to do this thing for 6 months, I would resign. But what did they do?
So Kreska.
No, Kreska.
Lawyer, come in.
Yeah, so
lawyer, how do we and this is a conversation that cuts across. You are right. This is a conversation that's not just for the NPP, it's also for the NDC, even the CPP, you know, and all the political parties. It cuts across board. How do we move away from this monetization, you know, of our elections? Let's narrow it down to the NPP's upcoming internal election. How do we ensure that money doesn't become the decider? Because if money becomes a decider, we all know what's going to happen, right?
Yeah. In fact, I don't think money will be a factor in the coming elections. In fact, indeed, we've just had an election, the election for the national, what was it called, the national executives, and there was a perception, and I'll use the word perception carefully. There was a perception that for the general secretary race, one candidate spent more money, had more money than the rest, and because of the people.
You mean John Boedu?
Yeah, I don't know. That was a perception. Yeah, and yet he lost.
Right.
So yes, is a factor, but I think when the people are so sure or they are certain about who they want, then even though it's a factor, it's not such a key. On the bigger monetization of democracy here, I think both of you have done a very good job in explaining how it is a national security threat for our country, because anybody at all can be president. We don't want anybody at all to be president. But then again, you see, it is so because of our economic circumstances. And I think the politicians are not doing enough. As in, and when I say, I mean both my own NPP and the NDC, they are not doing enough to change the economic situation of the people. And so far as poverty levels are high, and people are not seeing the economic benefits of leadership, then they don't care. They don't even value the power they have, and then they'll sell their power for a pittance. So I think in the short term, we should stop that by enforcing the law, because clearly vote buying is against the laws.
It's a crime.
Yeah, so we should enforce it. But for whatever, they don't enforce it because there's the politicians who are there. But we should find a way of enforcing it. Now, within the NPP, I think there's even a bigger problem, especially within the intra-party situation. That is what I call economic persecution. And for me, that's even more dangerous than the vote buying. Because already it is happening. Within the NPP, I know people don't say it, but I'll say it. There's this name they call internal Yanum. I don't know what it means.
Internal Yanum.
And it's gone for a very long time.
Please say that again. Economic what?
Persecution.
Persecution.
So what I simply mean by that is, let's say if you have a contract, or if let's say you're pursuing a contract, clearly you have what it takes to undertake the contract. Because you do not align to somebody, then you'll be denied. In fact, something happened last 2 weeks, and I think I have to speak about it. I have to speak. So one of our very young guys, as in young NPP guys, very brainy chap. He's a civil engineer, and you know, they are the future of the party. You see, so in every political, we have those of the people who are in the 80s. We call them advisors. You have the people in the 60s, 50s who are really pursuing real power. They have those of us, as in we are the 40 column, and then and then we have those in the 20s and the 30s.
Those below us.
And I think they are so critical because it tells you the potential of the
That's
of
the
the party.
future.
Yeah. So you have this young man, very committed NPP guy, very sharp, very brilliant. He's a civil engineer, as an SSC, he had 6 A's, first class civil engineer. He's gotten scholarship, so he's gotten admission into one of the universities outside to pursue a master's program in I think in transportation, and that's his passion. And he served the party, and then he goes and they tell him that, oh, you are an alarm boy. Because you're an alarm boy, even though you qualify, won't give you a scholarship. And that if you recant, like as if Alan is some demon, or if you recant, use the word recant here deliberately. If you recant and you declare for, let's say, your support for number 2, then we are going to give you the scholarship. That's economic persecution. And the danger therein is that it creates a certain culture of silence. You know, we in Ghana here, we talk about what happened in the 80s. People fought, people were in prison. I'm sure your dad himself suffered because of that culture of silence. People fought, people have died. For us to come into, to enjoy this Kimami KB system, and so immediately you start using the economy to suppress people's free choice, people's opinion, people's right to have a conscience, then there's a problem. And I see this thing playing out, especially over the past 12 years in our party, and especially now. There's this perception, and I'm using the word perception. In Ghana, most of the time, perceptions are
founded,
founded, where people are being given ministerial appointments because of, as in where they stand.
Where you stand.
Yeah, you understand. Even among, but I understand where, and like when I think Professor Thomas made arguments that when he came to power, he won't pick people from the NPP because they don't share his ideology. I understand that. Yes, it's true that we all want what is the best interest of Ghana, but we are different parties because we have different views as to how to get there. Right. So if you are NDC and say you don't pick somebody from NPP because it does not share your view on how to get there, I understand what same for the NPP. But if within the same party, and you have people who toiled, as in who were part of the struggle for our right to govern, and then you are denying them some of the benefits of their struggle only because they think somebody else is better to be sponsored to govern, and then you openly do that. So right now, over the past 2 years, people are declaring. I'm declaring because I don't care. Because of how I see life. My view about life is that I'm just a custodian. I'm not too property oriented.
This world is not our home.
You understand? I believe in the custody thing. So because of that, you can, and I've suffered that persecution. I'll say another how I'll see it. But we are different. So some people we are different, and because of the economy of this country, the economic situation here, that you are talking about people's bread and butter. Right. So that when immediately you make it a condition precedent to in giving them or making them enjoy that benefit, then you are suppressing the expression of their opinion, and that's essentially what an election is. So if you have noticed, you see ministers, MPs freely go on air and say that they support Maame. They do that freely. And you see, what is so beautiful is that those who really matter, the grassroots, those who don't care about being a minister, who don't care about some huge contracts, who only care about we create a system where their honest toil will give them honest income.
Now that's the conversation that I want us to have, right?
Yeah.
So yes, at the very top, there's a conversation of people getting to even become contenders because of a perception of having money, or because of what they are perceived to have done for the party, which always comes back to the issue of money, because you do with money, right? Yeah. So there's that, which influences who becomes a contender and who becomes a front runner. Yeah. Right? Then there's that level of monetization. But then there's also just the basic level of monetization, where on the day of election, people would put monies in envelopes, give it out to the people that you speak about, those that should have voted with their conscience.
And that's what I was
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I was
People get TV sets.
Yes,
money, cooking
see,
utensils.
You see,
food.
You see, when we just look at that without the economic persecution, because so what's happening is that right now, and I think I'm right. So I'll empower you. So let's say, Amma, you say you support. I want to be president. You support me, and I want a system where I can give out the monies, the TVs in a sophisticated manner, in such a sophisticated manner that it cannot be linked to me. So what do I look for? Like 20 people. You understand? I empower you. I give you some huge contract.
You get the contract.
I give you some huge contracts. You understand? I give my brother some huge contract. So on the third day, nobody will see me. I'm just seated.
I will be the one who is a friend of the candidate, who believes in the vision of the candidate.
No, not about the vision, about who has the...
No, that's what I would say,
okay,
obviously.
Exactly. Okay, yeah.
I mean, I will come and say that I believe in the vision of this man so much that of my own free will, I'm the one giving the money to the candidate.
Some huge contract has been cooked for you. So within the same party, so myself, let's say in 2016, I adopted the constituency. You understand? On the day of the election, I was going round and but because people think that you are lying,
being very guilty of monetization.
No, not money. Okay. So in the national election, how can you see when the numbers are that huge? How can you buy them with money?
We've heard of stories of food being used to
lure
even party agents and polling agents.
You understand?
So it wasn't about
money because you were in a position you're going to contest against the incumbent. Money is always an issue. The incumbent has money, and so to put yourself in a position where you can face them, not necessarily in terms of dashing money, because in the national elections, it's impossible to buy everybody. It is practically impossible. But at the end of the day, you want to find logistics for your polling station. Polling station was what called people who man your
polling agents
and all those people. But what I'm very particular about, and I see it happening within the NPP now, is what I call that economic persecution, where they are baiting the support of people with position, reducing contracts, where they are denying members of the party. So as in, like I mentioned, this young man, the civil engineer, members of the benefits of all of their sweat, because in 2016 and in 2020, it wasn't just Nanado who won the election. Without us, he couldn't have become a president of Ghana. People toiled, you understand? People toiled to win him that presidency. And then when you come to power, then you start doing economic persecution. Then at that point, you remember that. So in the primaries, this guy supported this guy supported that. Because in a political party where we have that platform to shine, yes, obviously, the way I see things will be different from.
But I have a follow-on question, and any of you can answer that question. In the case where it's not the candidate himself that's doling out the money, and it's an individual who is not a candidate, what does your constitution say about that?
So for me, it's the laws of Ghana. Yeah. Right. So the constitution, in NPP's constitution, and NPP's constitution will be subject to the laws of Ghana. Country. So I don't think you see in black and white. Indeed, NPP do not even have the power to, let's say, give proper beyond that suspended you and but me, I don't want the so a serious party who really is against monetization should have in their code of conduct something that says that if we catch
it's not too late, is it?
Yeah, it's not too late. As in, if the executives are so minded and they have that, they should put it there. But even beyond that, there's a law in Ghana. There are laws in Ghana that prohibits vote buying. I think it's high time we enforce it. And I think,
is it enforceable against a third party? Third party being somebody whose name is not on the ballot.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. Maybe.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so. Because you see, unless that is done, Amma, realistically, unless we create a system with people there's some deterrent, then people will do that. And for me, then it's no longer a democracy because it's like a coup d'etat.
Isn't it worth having a conversation around this? Nana, as somebody who has vied for a national position within the party, I'm sure there are some doors that are open to you that are not open to, the ordinary people. in those rooms that you have those meetings, why don't you bring it up? Conversations around punishment.
You see these doors thing that you are talking about. Maybe the doors are even close to me than those people. I'm telling you, because you see, back then, I think somewhere around 2019, 2020. Yeah, it was 2019 when I think Power FM was in Appiah-Danquah. I was on set with Honorable Sorogo, Akogan, Mugabe, and the rest. So after the program, Honorable Sorogo walked to me. I said, such an intelligent guy, Minty Udinda. So we exchanged contact. They said, why have you not been given an appointment? So I was like, oh, that kind of thing, and I drove off. The next time I had a call from Honorable Sorogo, he said, we are Alan Nipa. And I was like, really? Now me, Alan Nipa, and Alan Nipa, I say, I have an appointment. Do you get it?
But are you a MP?
I'm coming. You see, about this political persecution that Senior is talking about, I've suffered the most. Because we're 4 guys who contested for the National Youth Organizer in 2018. Scan through, everybody has been appointed. On board, on we.
All of you who contested for the position.
Yes, we're 4. Nana B, myself, Kamal, Dean, Dominic Edua. I've mentioned their names. All of them. But that economic perception that Senior is talking about. And with the greatest of respect, Senior, I don't think this monetization thing, even though it's about time we stop it, it's going to work. Like saying that the national executive, they won't. It cut across all the political divide. Why am I saying this? And they will come for these programs and they will go on this tangent. Oh, I didn't even know that when you are coming for a program, yet more 3,000, 5,000, say for Faka. From here to Medina.
Even if you are going to heaven.
You see?
Heaven.
So this thing, it won't work. And come to think of it, it's like the your friend is the highest bidder. I'm telling you. You see, in NPP, I don't know of NDC, but I'll speak for my party. There are brilliant chaps in there. They don't have money. But sit down with them. Ideas, proposals. Excellent. They can deliver. But because they don't have money. And the most annoying part of the whole thing is that it isn't that those of them who seemingly have money now used to have money then. It was out of politics. And like I told you last week, but for politics, none of them, I would say most of them, had never even worked to earn a monthly salary before. Mention the names and I'll tell you. Let's go. Hey. None. I'm being honest with you. People come from school.
You are taking one
I'm coming. People come from school, then they go and do their national service, and because you are a youth, maybe you are part of the National Union of Ghana Students, the news and what have you, then you develop interest in politics, and you see them following an MP, following the political people or persons.
The big boys.
Yeah, the big boys. Then eventually, they call them their political godfathers, and they bless them. So it's like Odinin or Tutuna Namo on the 9 ACC hall and that kind of thing. And all of a sudden, they think, excuse my language, they are sensible or they are brainier than you. I see them and I laugh because I see some of the national officers that I know in my political party, they have never attended an English program before. If you dare me, I'll mention the name. Then one of them even went to Newsfar, and he was told that we are not looking for a substandard person for you to come and sit here. And he was sad.
Who was that?
You know. You understand it? You know.
Who? I don't know.
You know.
I don't.
And I'm saying that Senior knows.
No, I don't know.
Ask something Ayinene or whatever his name.
Oh no, sincerely, I don't know. It's not like
after the program.
No, but this is about
you see,
that you don't, exclude my viewers from juicy conversations.
The person is Anabi. He went Nana watching. I'm being honest with you.
You do know he's my friend, right?
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying that you know.
Oh no, I didn't know.
You see, but when they come out like this, and you see the level of arrogance, the level of intolerance, yet you guys want to lead the people of Ghana. Where are we taking life to? Like Senior rightly said, he's not a materialistic type where you think that you will die and live it. Let's go back in the days of, how do you call it, the Enimados. My wives come from a family known as the YF family in Kumasi. When you talk about cash, don't go around. But where would life lead us all to? At the end of the day, we will appear before the judgment throne of God. All for us to be judged. It is for politics. Had it not been politics, where would we have been? I tell them, let them work for 1 month. Then we will say that, okay, we all have a level playing field. Now let us go and contest. But because of money, and some of them...
Do you think that this monetization could lead into a situation of rigging? Because that's the next line item on the conversation. Can this monetization, on the levels that we are speaking about, can it ultimately lead into a situation of rigging?
It's me, but now, in fact, because our eyes are red. We have seen elections. We have seen walks where we had a Drunusu walk. We saw the number of people who attended. We saw a national one. And you think, where were all these people? They will try. What I'm saying is that similarly, or maybe they may try, but it won't work.
Right.
Because honestly, in all fairness, we as NPP, we believe in something known as long service. We believe in something known as being loyal. His Excellency Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo got a nod because of one thing: long service, loyalty, that kind of thing. You get it? So this man has been with the party.
Right. I want us to round up quickly. There are some videos that I really want to show.
This man has been...
So, rigging, you think that rigging is not a consideration for this election?
As we stand now in NPP, from the camp where I come from, in fact, they might try it somewhere.
So there'll be attempted rigging. I'm sure there'll be some rigging. As to whether ultimately that will determine the election, I can't see.
Right.
But there'll be some attempts and there'll be some rigging, and that's what I think that we should try and organize an election. That's where rigging or the attempts at rigging is at the barest minimum. Yeah.
How do we do that? How do we achieve, this dream?
So I think the first, like I'm saying, the first stage is to make rigging or attempt at rigging very dangerous.
Right.
You understand? I think not just rigging, being corruption, all the vices we are facing like this, because we tolerate them as a people. We tolerate them. As a people, we should consciously make it so unattractive nobody would even think about it. Because really, when people rig, what they do is they rob you of your right to choose who you want to lead you. So they are actually robbing you, and because of what it means, what rigging means and what it does, I think we should detest it, and I don't want to talk about laws because the laws are already there.
Right.
We should enforce, find a way of enforcing the laws and make it very unattractive.
Right. Okay.
So can I come in with the issue? You see, sometimes when Africans, we talk about rigging in our elections, I'm sometimes quite surprised about all these things. Because come to think of countries like India, don't they do elections? I've never heard India where the opposition party will come out and say that, oh, yeah, me. No. But a country like Ghana, even in national elections, where we have a voter population of less than, I think, 20 million, why should there be elections? We've all been through universities where during SRC elections, you could see some people would try. And it is out of this particular training where it develops into the national.
Right.
But the fact is, why should we internally do an election? The people say, I want this. You say that because I am leaving or I want to take over a certain position in the party. I want to impose somebody on you. No, that one, it will work. It will work, honestly. I'm not bragging, but the fact is, Amma, you see, let us be fair. Let us be guided by our conscience. I've always heard a principle. The greatest battle in life is you yourself fighting with your own conscience, where you know that I didn't mean it, but I will do it. At the end of the day, can you even go and sleep? Where you know that things are going on in a certain angle, but I don't want that thing. People say, I want this person. When the person goes on his knees and cries to God, it comes to, it will follow your children.
Right. Now, I want us to watch this video of Kennedy in Japan. My least favorite contender, my least favorite contender of the MPP's, contenders that I really truly wish will not win, say something about an open contest.
My policy is I can work with anybody, and trust me. We have a sharp division, Alam Baumia, to me is rubbish. If you are a Democrat, why wouldn't you want somebody to contest? You call yourself a Democrat. If you don't want anybody to contest, be a dictator and let us know. So if I contest you, I'm not your enemy. As simple as that. But when you contest and you don't win, the person who rather won doesn't want to deal with the losers. This is the problem.
Welcome back from that good call of a free and a fair election. Absolutely, yes, free and fair elections. Now, Nana Appiah-Danquah himself has spoken to this issue of a free and fair elections, within, the party. Somebody else, like the General Secretary of the party, has also spoken extensively. These are long reads, I just want to read just a bit of what the president says. It says here, President Akufo-Addo insisted that he is the arbiter and the umpire of the whole exercise. Thus, he does not need to have a preference. And the only time he would show his preference is when he votes. But until then, he has no preference, and assured of assisting and supporting the new leadership of the NPP to organize the process in such a way that whoever wins or loses will accept defeat. From the basis, we will bring the party together and present a formidable force, because I am aware members of this and sympathizers of opposition parties, including and particularly the NDC, has begun to celebrate the country's current challenges. But let us remember, one swallow does not make a summer. Tell them they should not hesitate. So you get the conversation. Former president is saying that he is interested in a free and fair election, and so current president, forgive me. So our current president is saying that, he himself would stay away, from having a preference, that he appreciates his position as the, the umpire, the arbiter in all of this. And so until the day of voting, he himself will not declare his stance, and he will try, not to be biased, so that the elections can be free and fair.
Saying it by word of mouth, and it is one thing. At least accepting it within. What does the Bible says? With our mouth, we make certain confession. With our heart or something, salvation to righteousness or something. You see, Emma, let his, let's say, his conduct depict the statement that he brought out. And I am not in any way saying that he is not doing the right thing, but is the president not aware of the regional executives and constituency executives of the 5 Northern region coming down to meet the vice president at the Jubilee House. Is he not aware? What are we doing to ourselves? They come there every day to meet the vice president. And now, look at what is happening all over. I can tell you, you remember back in the days when His Excellency John Agyekum Kufuor was leaving office, there was this perception of he wanting to bring Alan Kojo Tremantin. What happened? The people within revolted. We took him off. So now, as it is going round, there's this perception of the president, not even perception. When President Kufuor's one was even a perception. But now look at what is happening. The face of NPP is now on His Excellency Dr. Bawumia, where things being done in line with the nation, or like let's say something being nationalistic, is that the face of the vice president is put out there. Whereas he's the number 2 gentleman in the country. Everything is about Dr. Bawumia. And this one is not even a perception. This is clearly defined.
Right.
Where go on the Facebook wall of all these government appointees, particularly this man, Kofi, this man who took over from John Kuma, the Kofi Ofosu in Cancer. Go on the Facebook wall. Go on that Facebook wall and look at the things that is being published. Just recently, when I think His Excellency Bawumia represented the government of Ghana during the swearing-in of William Ruto or something. I think one Bediako, Dr. something. Yeah, just go on his Facebook wall. You see, you do all these things. Then you tell us that, oh, all these aggrieved people should come and work together. You don't do things like that. There can never be peace without justice. You get what I'm saying? So let the national executives, let the president, he's our father. We are all from the same, we're all from the same, let's say, grandparent or whatever. You don't give somebody some kind of start against the other.
Right. Okay, now let's go to the polls. You wanted to comment on the free and fair. I think it goes without saying. A free and fair election is everybody's dream.
No, I just want to just
yeah, man, you knew of all this and you invited us to speak our mind. So if you knew of the house, why do you invite us?
So what I'll simply say is, our new General Secretary gives me a lot of hope.
Right.
Yeah, as in, I know the President has said what is.
Right.
The persona of our General Secretary and what he's been saying.
Right.
So I believe that the General Secretary has shown a commitment to organize the free polls. At least, you know, this guy, Anasara coordinator, misbehaved.
Aziz Futa,
and he didn't even wait for a minute. He told him off. So because of the person of the General Secretary of the current executive, it gives me a lot of hope that we are going to have a free and fair election, and after, our party will be poised towards the battle ahead.
Absolutely.
And one thing I just want to add on is that
it's time. I want us to look at some other juicy issues.
Yes, all those who have declared, we're only pleading and begging them that when they put them on any of the election committee, they should recuse themselves, at least for the sake of peace.
Right. That's a good call.
Yes.
That's a good call. Now let's look at this poll, which has been done by Global Info Analytics, which seems to have the Honorable Tremantin, at 43%, has Dr. Bawumia at 40%, has the Honorable Kennedy Japan at 4%. It says someone else at 7%. It says others at 6%. A little confusing for me.
Yeah.
Can you make
so
some
I
headway?
remember sometime in May, in March, May, I met
This was done on the 19th of July.
Yes, I know. Yes,
2022.
it was released on the 19th of July.
Released on the 19th of July.
But he's been doing pools. He's been conducting pools almost every month. I met him and then I told him that I don't think his pools represent what is actually on the ground. At that time, I think he had His Excellency Dr. Maame pulling almost 80-something%, and
wow.
at that time around 14%. And I said, the nature of the people of Ghana is very dangerous to plan with pools.
But this one has your choice ahead by 3%.
So I'm not even looking at that. So someone's the job day ground. And I'm saying that because there's still this culture of silence within the NPP. People are still scared. I don't know why. I'm trying to understand why people are, but and there again, I wish we could have a longer conversation about this economic persecution, because it's one of, I think
we could do that.
It's one of the greatest wrongs that have been done to our party over the past 12 years. And so
so imagine the wrong done to the country.
So no, that's another conversation. Yeah, but there has been this culture of silence within the NPP, and so people are still scared. And so when you conduct polls, it does not reflect. I'm sure Global themselves were surprised at the people who willingly the organic nature of the Kumasi work. In fact, there was one on a Chem work too. It didn't get the kind of attention the Kumasi one had, but that was not at the same level the Kumasi one, but it was massive. Yeah, understand. So yes, it's good he does his polls. I won't be too excited or too worried about the results, and it's not because my preferred candidate is leading. I think I would just implore all supporters of Alan Kyerematen, all Ghanaians, to study the person of Alan Kyerematen, because you see, he's one of the few candidates, and I've seen all the candidates in the Fourth Republic, but I think he's the most predictable of all the candidates in terms of what
debatable.
He's the most predictable in terms of.
That's debatable.
Yeah, but every statement is debatable. Yeah, but in terms of
this statement is very debatable.
So why am I saying he's predictable? In terms of, as an Alan came into the national discourse in 2006. What was his message? And he says what? Cash for the people, job for the people, cash for the people.
Alan Cash.
Yeah, job for the people, cash for the people, and that has consistently been his message. Now, when you query why he's saying jobs for people, cash for people, he says that what he believes in building the small and medium scale enterprises. He believes in increasing productivity in both agric and in industry. He believes in trade. You understand, trade as the fulcrum of attaining economic emancipation. That's been Alan's message, and it's been so consistent. Now, why am I saying he's the most predictable? Because I've never seen a candidate who I can refer to his past, and everything he says he'll do, there are things that he's done with flying colors. I don't know, but you remember Empretech in the early 90s when there was a conscious effort by the UN to alleviate poverty in Africa, and they decided to use Ghana more or less as a case study. Decided to, and in fact, one of the key ways of alleviating poverty is in building or empowering the small and medium scale enterprises. And the UN called on Alan Kyerematen to lead that charge, and he delivered so emphatically that Empretech was able to be independent of the UN funds. UN then made him to go and replicate same in East Africa through the enterprise Africa, and indeed it culminated in him being the first Director General of UNDP. Right. We also know Alan Kyerematen's contribution in private sector development in this country. We know it's not something that you can debate about it. But is it coming into 2000 based on the effect of J.J. Rawlings' revolution and its impact in private sector initiative? People weren't interested in private people weren't interested in doing business, and the impact it had on the overall economic outlook of our country. And so when NPP came in 2000, we had to find a way of stimulating the private sector again, and there again we know the role Alan Kyerematen played. Now, when it comes to trade, one of the biggest problems we have in Africa is the fact that we do not trade amongst ourselves. We don't have that strong common market as pertains in, say, the EU or, say, in North America and then in Asia. And so even if, as in, we undertake any serious industrialization, we'll still have a problem finding a market to sell our goods. And so, and I believe when Kwame Nkrumah in 1963 said, either we unite as Africans or we die. What he really meant was that for Africa to be strong, then we have to come together as one trade bloc, one economic bloc, beyond the politics, but one economic bloc. Then we can compete with all the superpowers anywhere. Now the question is, let me just land. Now the issue was, how do you do that? How do you convince other African countries to integrate their economies together? And Alan has done that with ACFTA. So when I say that I can predict Alan's presidency, it's not just based on what he says he will do, but it is based on what he has done in the past already, concerning what he says he will do.
I think what you want to say is that you can predict that he would win the internal elections. Because there's a poll here about the presidency. We'll come to that in a minute.
Okay,
we'll come to that in a minute.
Okay, so I think I can just marry the two.
Just
yeah, because
the
I
first
just
one.
Okay,
The first one.
Fine.
So the first one says that Alan Kyerematen is leading by 3%, followed by Dr. Bawumia, and then of course the Honorable Kennedy Japan, and then it goes on and on and on.
I think this poll done by Global Info Analytica needs to be thrown down the drain or inside the dust bin or trash can. Why am I saying this?
Your preferred candidate is leading.
We need to be serious. What was his sampling size? What went into the polls that he did? I mean, how do you tell me that in terms of another poll that he trusts to better create job opportunities?
Hold on,
I'm coming. Yes, I want to marry the two.
No, don't marry the two. We will get there. You deal with this one, the internal one, which is our main conversation.
You see, the whole thing is that, what I will say is
so you're saying that it's not credible that Alan Kyerematen would lead the NPP's
we need to throw it away. Not credible that Alan will do what?
No, but that's what
the percentage, in terms of the percentage, you see, don't mind Amma. The whole thing is that, listen, Amma, let's throw this thing.
No, because it says here that Alan Kyerematen is leading. So if you're asking us to throw it away and treat it with contempt, and you're telling us that you find the notion of Alan winning the
how do I write an exam? How do I write an exam that I know for a fact that I will get about 89 or 90%? Then the result comes out and I get about 40%, and you expect me to be happy?
But you're the one going to mark.
I'm not the one going to mark, but every exam, how do I go to an examination room and or an examination hall, then I get a question of maybe 2 + 1 is equal to what? And it runs through. And you ask me, so there are certain questions which are predictable, as in whatever you will get. You get it. So this thing ought to be thrown out.
Okay.
I mean, what percentage
I can already
is
preempt what your reaction to the next one is going to be. There's another poll which says...
No, the same poll.
The same...
Poll,
what's it called?
The same poll, different questions were asked.
So this one says, who do you trust to
better manage the economy?
To better manage the economy? Here it says, trust to better build infrastructure. That's what the main thing itself is. It says trust to better build infrastructure, and it pictures, contenders across the countries, not just the NDC or the NPP, and it has the Honorable Kwabena Dufour at 2%. It has someone else. I wish that someone else was named. It has someone else at 11%. As in anybody other than these people. Is that what it means?
Yeah.
Okay. It has Alan Kyerematen at 13%. It has our President, Vice President Mahmoud Bawumia at 18%. And then it has John Dramani Mahama at an astronomical.
This is
astronomical.
This is the more reason why I said we should move through this.
57%. This is when we do the drum roll.
51%. I have 51% here.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you have.
Oh, please check. What does yours? 57.
Is it 57 or 51? I have 51% here.
57%.
I want to add 6%.
Okay, no, this is a different question.
No, I think it's the same thing.
It's a different question.
Trust to better create job opportunities.
And that's a different question. This one is to build infrastructure.
Oh, okay.
This infrastructure, and it's at 57%. So Ghanaians believe that, and hold on, please. I find it interesting that even though the polls suggest that Alan Tremantin is leading in terms of who would win, in terms of who will build infrastructure, Bawumia leads Alan Tremantin in that conversation.
Yeah.
I find it really interesting, even before we get to John Mahama.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying that, you see, our country is an interesting one in terms of these issues, and that's why the veteran Benefson has got his reputation a bit dented. I'm not saying that I believe they conduct the polls. I believe so, but because of, well, like my brother is saying, first of all, we don't know the sampling size, we don't know the personal circumstances of the people they were asking the question. And so for me, my attitude about polls, especially when we have about 2 years to a major election, is not to be too concerned really about them, really. But having said that, I think I've had the opportunity of going through these polls. So what he does is that he asks the political party of the people and who you rather vote for. It doesn't various questions. So the turnout is, the answers are quite interesting. But there again, I'm sure the sampling size won't be even up to 1,000 people.
Okay, so let's expand the conversation and bring in John Dramani Mahama into the conversation. And let me say that I'm not shocked at this, because obviously we can look at what he did, as president in terms of infrastructure.
Like?
Oh, come on, Nana.
I just want you to help me.
I'll just give one example. I've given this example before.
Which is?
Of a close relative having a medical condition. And in that chain, because we had to keep transferring him, to other hospitals to get treatment. And in that chain, all of the hospitals that literally saved his life, I'm talking about 4 hospitals, were all built by John Mahama.
Okay.
All 4. Personal experience, just this year. All 4. And I remember that the doctor that was his best friend, who was with me at the time as we went through that journey, being NPP, and as every time me reminding him that, would this be a good time to sort of give praise where praise is due? The truth is that even COVID, I went all the way to the Volta region to speak to the regional minister, and the second in command at the helm of affairs, with the situation, and both the regional minister, this one, and the health person, let me say person, because obviously he's in charge, both praised the kind of facilities that we have as being one of the reasons that we've been able to effectively, in that region, because Volta region at the time has still not, at that time when I went there, has still not, recorded any cases. And they said that a chunk of that praise, had to go to the infrastructure that they had, and it had been built by John Mahama. We could enter Kumasi and talk about the KJT market. I mean, it goes on and on. The schools, going around the country, and I do that. I walk around a lot. I have the opportunity to do that. And the schools, in terms of infrastructure, come on, guys, put NPP aside for this conversation.
I want to put NPP aside.
Let's have this conversation.
I just want to hold you by your word, saying that because of the facility, the health facilities built by His
That's not my word.
No.
That's not me saying.
Yes, by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. That is why we recorded less number of casualties or like people having COVID in the Volta region. I totally disagree with this statement. This is not scientific. Go to.
But it is scientific.
I'm coming, my lady. Go to countries like. I'm coming.
And it is experts' opinion. I would not take that opinion over your opinion.
I will. No, fine. But let me also avert your mind to something. You see, countries like Italy, in terms of health facilities, machines, or what have you, Ghana stands nowhere near them. But look at how Italy, the country Italy was hit by the COVID. It is not about facilities. I'm being agrees with you. So you don't expect opinions by whoever you met, or the minister, or the health personnel there, or the health person there. I totally disagree.
Why can we not just give?
Please, can I give my
Senior,
our time is up. So conclude. Nana, conclude.
I hope that the bank, the 4 hospitals you are saying that,
right.
Your
And I
friend,
can mention
I'm
them.
coming. Your friend, had it not been these 4 hospitals that she or he attended, does not include the Bank of Ghana Hospital, and does not include the University of Ghana Medical School, Medical Hospital. Ama, you see, we need to be factual in this country. The Bank of Ghana Hospital,
The Bank of Ghana Hospital is not part of my list.
was not even built by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. It was built by the facility. The University of Ghana Hospital was not built by His Excellency. But let me tell you, the hospitals or facilities built under this administration. You know of the Bekwai Municipal Hospital, and the 120 bed, not the Bekwai Government Hospital where the NDCs put that particular hospital in their green book. That hospital was built in 1970. But then I don't know how old John Dramani Mahama was. You understand what I'm saying? 120 bed facility, the Bekwai Municipal Hospital. Now let me also take you to the Tin District Hospital. Talk of the Talon District Hospital. Talk of the Soumenya, the Eastern Regional Hospital built around Soumenya. Talk of Bupe District Hospital in the Savannah region. These are hospitals built by current administration, not University of Ghana Hospital, where the University of Ghana even use Ghana as a sovereign guarantee, where if they don't pay, they'll come holding the neck of whoever the president is at the time of where they took the facility from. Not the Bank of Ghana Hospital, built by that particular institution. I'm not saying His Excellency John Dramani Mahama.
You want to cite rage as well? What's your defense for rage?
Wait, let me tell you. You see the trap? I'm coming. You see the trap I set for you. You follow me. Let me tell you. You see,
before Maritime International Hospital. How about those?
When I was but I think 5 or 6 years, I was the type of a person who had about, you see, these teeth, they were like 2 double. As a then, I won't shy away from mentioning my age. I told you last week.
Yeah.
Yes, my mother took me to the Ridge Hospital, and you see all these potholes.
What's your point? That the Ridge Hospital existed already?
What I am trying to tell you
that.
Yes. So talk about the extension. Talk about the extension. Don't say that.
But what
John Mahama never built the Ridge Hospital.
Mean?
It tells you, John Mahama. Let me give the chance to senior to at least you are.
It's a very good.
No, it's not. I have a
talk about extension. That is fine.
But you made a point.
It's a horrible argument.
It's not horrible. It isn't horrible.
You said that we didn't have the numbers that people think that we will have because of the hospitals. No, and I disagree with you there. We did not have, because people didn't even go to the hospitals first. We didn't have the numbers because of the fantastic policies put in place.
People are building factories
in the COVID. Now, if there's one thing,
fantastic policies.
Yeah, fantastic. If there's one thing, closing the what's it called, the borders.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you want us to have the borders conversation?
Yes. Ama, you talk to your people. And you are the channel manager. I mean,
if there's one thing that COVID did, it exposed the lack of health infrastructure in this country. And so, when COVID
I agree with you.
If there's exactly so.
No. I do agree with you.
Yes, it will expose them.
And so imagine if all of what had been done had not been done.
No. I'm coming.
Imagine what would have happened to the Ghanaians. Imagine
when Mahama made so much noise about our votes, and even that one we are challenging it. But the point is, by next year, by close of next year, hopefully we'll have more than 80 hospitals ready.
By close of next year, we will come back here and have that conversation.
So you say
I'm not saying that. He said 80 hospitals.
More than 80, not 80. More than
and then do you know something fantastic this government has done? That's trendy. Is going under the radar. This, you see, when it comes to what's called funding infrastructure development. You see, for a country where, first of all, we have serious issues with raising of revenue, then you must find a way of building infrastructure without it really hitting your pocket. And so this government has led the passage of the PPP Act.
Please don't talk about my pockets in this administration. In this administration.
I want to stay on the.
How can you talk about my pockets when I can't buy fuel? I cannot buy fuel. What are you talking about?
You said you can't buy fuel.
So you couldn't buy fuel. Are you trying to
convince?
So are you trying to convince me, to persuade me that
okay. Let me.
He even goes to the extent of buying watches. He goes to the extent of even buying watches for Tijani, and I've been seeing that particular thing on Tijani stage.
So that's what you can buy. So you are comfortable. Your pockets are fine.
No, you buy fuel, but
your pockets are fine.
Let me.
In this economy today, when the dollar has hit 10,
it's not true. It's not true. Check the Bank of Ghana website. That is the official page you would have to go.
My focus is you have a government that has, through the law, created an avenue where private sector can partake in infrastructural development.
No.
So you have a situation where, let's say, in a year, even let's say last year when we had under this regime where we've had our biggest GDP, around 77 billion USD. And you know our tax to GDP is around 12%, 13%. Now, if you round it up, it comes to so that we get revenue from tax of around 10 billion. Now, if you take into consideration what that 10 billion has to do, and clearly means that it's very inadequate. So then you have to find a way of still building infrastructure without while at the same time limiting the exposure.
At time is up.
Yeah.
I want
at
to.
time is up.
I just want to say.
You can't say anything again. At time is up.
So if you have time, just need the PPP.
Channel manager, we can.
If you have time,
just
just consider the PPP Act and the potential that the PPP Act and the public.
You see, I don't like this kind of act conversation. You brought the pockets. I like the pockets conversation.
And I'm saying that you see, in the last budget.
Down
okay, so in the last budget, I'm coming. In the last budget or the review. The finance minister said that they were going to have more rules and toll sim. And I realized that the conversation that was about you scraped the toll. Why are you bringing? But you see, if we listen to the finance minister carefully, what he meant was private sector was going to undertake those infrastructural developments. And because it's the private sector doing it, they have to recoup their funds. And I'm saying that, and that direction.
Isn't that a problem?
It's not.
In less than, 2 years?
It's not.
I'm even exaggerating. The finance minister does a flip-flop on his own policy?
He did not, because...
Isn't that
in 2020,
too problematic?
It's not. Well, in 2020, we passed the Public-Private Partnership Act. And just that passage, because and the reason I give you the example is because you said you want it to be broken down. Immediately you pass...
into my pockets.
Yes, that's what I mean. So immediately you pass the PPP Act, and then you are inviting private sector to partake in the infrastructure development. What it means is that you are taking off some burden from the public purse.
Okay.
So the public purse will be freer to then undertake adaptations that could end up enabling you to have more cash in your pocket.
I like more cash in my pocket.
Exactly.
I always like more cash in my pocket.
So you have cash.
So in a nutshell, both of you are essentially rubbishing all of these posts.
Yes.
But then the truth is that as it stands now, by what we have, this is what we are working with. I'm not even going to do this thing of asking you who your favorite is. I know who both your favorites are. That's Alan Chamato. 2 seconds each and we are out. Just 2 seconds.
Oh, 2 seconds, Claudia.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about something. You see, let me be honest, and to our viewers, what all of us in this country should do is to praise the government of the day. Do you know why I'm saying this? Ghanaians have lost sight of one thing. We close the borders. We close our harbor or something. The revenue coming from those places, ask anybody in this country who's like the people working with the GRAs or the people in government, they will tell you that majority of government workers are paid through revenues coming from that particular place. was closed for two years. Who amongst workers in the public sector was laid off? But we saw countries laying off workers or something. Even your own, I think the Inside newspaper on the Ghana Web carried a story on Tuesday, 4th August 2015, and their source was the Inside newspaper. And this is what it says: IMF orders government to freeze employment. It was out of a result of these monies we took from this external facility we took. And then you have somebody who calls himself Info whatever Global Analytic, then comes out to tell me that because of, I know, channel manager, don't worry. Somebody freezing employment in this very country now is the best person to lead Ghana and provide job opportunities and infrastructure. It's a joke of the century. It's a joke of the century. We should praise the government of the day. I'm being honest with you.
As it too close, not to speak too much.
Right.
One great man said that there are three pillars on which every state is built: political emancipation, economic emancipation, and spirituality. Thanks to Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, we have that.
He's a philosopher.
We have political emancipation. When it comes to spirituality, I think we are spiritual in our own ways. Can we say we are economically emancipated?
No.
And so the biggest need of our country now is economic emancipation. History has taught us one thing, that you can never get economic emancipation unless you ramp up your productivity. And that's why the Industrial Revolution is one of the greatest epochs of human of this world. Now, if that is the case, then when we are choosing a leader, we should be looking at somebody who has a proven track record of being able to stimulate that kind of industrial revolution. And currently in Ghana, in Africa, there's nobody who has shown that ability than Alan John Kojo Martin. And so we should all rally behind this great man, give him the nod in 2024, and he will lead the economic emancipation of our country.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you very much. I will end by wishing you well in your upcoming elections. I hope that everything that you have said, that the structure of the party shares your opinions, because at the end of the day, if the elections are free and fair within the NPP, it can only extend to the national elections, also being free and fair. Then ordinary Ghanaians, me,
in your pockets.
Ordinary Ghanaians can finally feel it in our pockets. Yes. Thank you for coming. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.
The Socialist Movement of Ghana announces the program for the celebration of this year's Founders' Day, the birthday of Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. The celebration starts on Tuesday, September 20, 2022, with a placard parade from the Black Star Square to the Bank of Ghana headquarters on the Professor Atta Mills High Street from 10 a.m. On Wednesday, September 21, there will be a public forum at the headquarters of the Socialist Movement of Ghana on the George Walker Bush Highway at 4 p.m. The event will be chaired by Professor Appiah-Danquah of the University of Cape Coast. The speakers will be Professor Raymond Atuguba of the University of Ghana and Comrade Kwesi Pratt Jr., General Secretary of the Socialist Movement of Ghana. Join us in exposing the lies of history about the independence and the heroes and sheroes of Ghana. The general public, progressive and socialist forces are all invited.
Welcome to Calm Trading and Farms Limited. We are the sole importers and distributors of FM World Rulong Plus combined harvesters. We are the sole importers and distributors of FM World combined machines. If you buy from us, spare parts are readily available. Our machines can pick and harvest logged rice as well as standing rice, and is 102 horsepower. FM World tractors also have 110 horsepower, which is fully hydraulic and can break hard grounds. Our rotavators is also 102 horsepower. It works perfectly in muddy areas and in lands where tractors cannot operate. World combined harvesters come with automatic gear drive, diesel power engine, 1.77 cubic grain storage tanks, 2.2 meter curtain width, 360-degree unloading pipe and sunshade, as well as 2 diesel filters. Our branches include Tamale Airport area, Accra Ritz Junction. Kindly call us on 0278 223 811 or 0550 108 899, as well as 020 1600 727. Don't buy fake, buy original. Buy from us now. Come Trading and Farms Limited, your best importers and suppliers of FM World Roulong Plus Plus combined harvesters.
Hello, information.
Madam,
Me, I have still not got the money for that list of expensive building materials you sent to me. The price of the iron rods have been increased too much, had
Madam, relax. Look, that's not why I did call. I just visited IPCP, where the engineers told me everything about Trasacco fast floor.
Trawanko, please, those people are expensive. Are they not the people building those big houses in town? I beg going to catch them.
Madam, in fact, I used to think the same until I visited their office today, and they gave me an estimate of how much it will cost. No more, the estimate is free. It's cheaper than the one I even sent you.
Wow.
Building contractors, foremen, masons. Visit IPCP, the Trasacco Fast Floor. Engineers will assist you build an affordable, faster and stronger building.
Oh, madam, it is done.
Wow.
Trasacco Fast Floor, stronger, faster and affordable.
This is a Trasacco construction product.
Welcome to Ridge Royal Hotel. In the recent light of pandemic, we are taking utmost care to ensure the safety of our guests. We have to change with the times, and the hotel industry is used to change.